Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is your favorite dark sorcerer here. It's 11:37 p.m. where I am. So, and I know a lot of those of my followers are overseas and in other time zones, so this is a great time to do it. So, I want to talk to you a little bit about pact making. I've seen a lot of individuals on social media wanting to make a pact. They're inquiring to make a pact with quite a few different types of spirits. So the question comes down to a paradox. Are you ready, truly, to make that pact, that commitment to that spirit and to that magical system? The other aspect, on the other hand, is how should you go about doing it? You see, every system has a code of conduct, ethics, if you wish, that surround pact making and honoring spirits, your devout dedication and commitment, not only to that path, that philosophy, but also to the spirits that you make these pacts with. You see, many Satanists believe that making a pact with Satan aligns them with his current, that they are protected, that they will become, that anything they desire shall become theirs. And they get devastated, discouraged, because they're not truly ready to make that commitment. You see, they still have that fresh cognitive thought of it's a game, that it's about being the bad guy to the church. When in fact, in reality, Satanism has nothing to do with the church. It has nothing to do with the Bible. The Satan we know as Satanists is not the same devil that is spoken of in the Abrahamic religions. So to understand this, when you go to one of his lieutenants, say, let's go with Paimon. Paimon within the Goetia is said to be very loyal to Lucifer. Okay? Now, according to Luciferianism, Satan and Lucifer are the same being. They are just simply the same, how should I say this, the lighter and darker aspects of the same proverbial coin. Okay? You see what I mean by that code of ethics, that understanding of who you're dealing with. You see, Satanism has many denominations, just like voodoo or the African Caribbean traditions of, say, Nigeria, Quimbanda, Umbanda, Pedomayambi, Pedomonte, voodoo. Okay? You see, African voodoo is different from Haitian voodoo. And Haitian voodoo is different from New Orleans voodoo. But how would you know that if you did not do your homework into that system? Okay? This is where a neophyte or an acolyte would begin their journey through intense study, through intense practice. Okay? Once you've learned the Lua or the demons, the angelics or that of the man, my cat is mouthy tonight. The Orisha, okay? When you understand which being can do whatever for you, say, to bring love into your life, or say, for an example, to grant death, okay? Compassion, healing, whatever. Then you can understand, okay, this being does this being does that. Now look at what you are trying to accomplish. What is your end game? What is your intent when working with these spirits? How would you go about doing that? What do they like? Okay? What kind of offerings and sacrifices do they demand? One of the things that you need to understand about the African Caribbean systems is that it's a very demanding root workings systems. Okay? When it comes to offerings and sacrifices, you might want to get a green card. Okay? And no, I'm not talking about the governmental green card for citizenship. No. I'm talking about those type of cards that they give out down in, say, Mexico or South America, because these cards allow you to buy a lot of animals, because the African Caribbean system sacrifices a lot of them. Okay? They're well maintained, they are well cared for, right up until that sacrifice, that offering. When you get into their gods, the Lua, okay? Not the L. You can go with the LWA version, which is the African base, or the LOA version, which is the Haitian and Creole version. Okay. Personally, the LWA is the older of all of them, and it is more potent to use those ones. It would be the same thing if you utilized the Grimoire system and you're utilizing, say, the Solomantic keys, the Lesser Key of Solomon, the Goetia. Doesn't matter if it's the one put forth by Mathers, Dr. Rudd, or that of Michael W. Ford. Either way, it's just a regurgitated system that has been spoken of by numerous practitioners. But they all speak to the characteristics of that type of spirit. Okay? So the question comes down again in this paradox. Are you ready to make that pact with that spirit? Are you being called to serve that spirit, to commune with that spirit? Okay? Some spirits, like the Loa, is a ancestral lineage. So when you are initiated into it, these spirits, these ancestors will work with you. In the Orisha aspect, one of them will be your guide that you will work with for your entire career as a practitioner. Okay? This goes to the same thing with Santeria. All right? So, knowing this, are you ready to make that pact? If you just answered no, then my advice, get off this channel, go to the library, get online, order the books, order the material needed for you to learn about these spirits, to learn what it means to truly make a pact with a demon, with a Loa, with a Jinn, with the Orisha. Okay? What do you need for tools to do this? What are the offerings, the sacrifices that they require? As Black Adepts, I can tell you that serving a spirit is no easy thing. It's very demanding. A lot of repetition is needed. This means daily worship. Rituals are done, offerings are given, sacrifices made. Same thing with a necromancer. As a practicing necromancer as well, I can tell you that sacrificing a meal, making sure that that spirit knows that you have sacrificed that meal to that spirit, is a great honor. It's not only your sacrifice, but it is your offering to that spirit. It is like bloodletting, blood offerings. You see my point there. So the paradox aspect, knowing that you're not ready for this, that you have more studying to do, more research to do before you decide that you are ready. So, how do you know when you are ready to make a pact? How do you know when it is time to put a pact forth? One of the best ways to know is when a spirit comes to you, when you feel that pull to a particular spirit. It doesn't matter if it's Satan, the witch father, from the Grimoire of Armadale, or that of the Magus, Volume 1, the Intelligencer. He's known as the witch father, the creator of witches. It wasn't until the 7 deadly sins came around that he was associated with wrath and death, witches and warlocks. Okay? Either way, it is still in alignment with the sorcerers. He's the witch father, the witch creator. You see the point there. So when you are called on that aspect, do some research. What is a good offering for that individual? What is the best way for you to honor that spirit, to call them forth? Personally, I recommend an evocation. Do an evocation, the triangle of evocation. If you don't have a triangle of evocation with a circle of empowerment, open up your altar room. Draw a seal or a sigil. Place your personal blood on it. Okay? This could be done with a lancet, a bloodletting device. You can go as far as writing out your own pact. There's quite a few satanic books out there, books on Satanism, that speaks to pacts. Tentatio Diabolus, for an example, the first book in that book, which is a 3-in-1 book. Okay, the first one, the Devil's Bible, has a great initiation process. You see, in the first one, it deals with letting go of and admitting that you are leaving that former occupation. Okay, that former association. Let's say, for an example, if you're going from Christianity into devil worship, you're announcing that you are severing all ties with that religion, that philosophy, that way of life. The second night is your unholy baptism, your initiation to your new path. And in the third night, you're dressed in black. You're putting forth your personal pact, your oath to serve Satan and his demons. This is traditional Satanism. This is spiritual and theistic Satanism that this is done in. Each one, it doesn't matter if you are, say, theistic or spiritual or even traditional. Each one has their own codes. The same with Luciferianism. Demonolators, on the other hand, are completely different than Satanists. This is because of the fact that they choose to associate solely with demons. A couple of the greats that I would recommend in this is number 1, Joseph Nunn. Okay, Joseph Nunn, also known as Behemoth X. You can look him up right here on YouTube. You can look him up on Facebook. This man is one of the top occultists when it comes to spiritual evocations. His videos are second to none, in my opinion. Okay? I highly recommend him to you. He does some pacts, he does some rituals, He does some invocations, invites, does some bloodletting, some offerings. And on top of that, you see the complete opposite. Even though he's a Luciferian, he deals solely with demons. Okay? So let's go to the second one. S. Connolly. She is one of the leading demonologists that I know of out there. Okay? She's written over a dozen books that I can tell you. Probably about closer to a dozen books. Some of them, like Bringing Down Belial, the complete book of demonology, or that of the complete book of daemonology. Two different spellings. Okay? Tells you what candles to go with, what their interpretation is, what they mean, who they associate with. She gives you a list of the goetic demons from various different authors in these books. In Bringing Down Belial, you're dealing with divination. Okay, I'm talking invocations, evocations, oneomancy. Okay, dealing with ceremonial and rituals where you can actually utilize oleums, potions, to help you get into a mind state of summoning these spirits through either a divination bowl, a scrying mirror, or perhaps through mediumship. Either way, she has it, and she has covered this stuff through necromancy, through demonolatry. She is very good at it. Okay? Some of my rituals in the past that I've done on this channel shows you how to make things, how to perform things. Most importantly, I give a lot of sources that you can go to just for learning, just for education. So if you are ready to make that commitment, to become that devout student, that apprentice of one of these spirits, then by all means, get into how to make a pact. Look at different materials. How do they make the pacts? What do they utilize? What kind of incense do they use? Start gathering the material that speaks to you personally. And when you've written out your pact, then light the candles, find your center through meditation, work on your breathing, pay attention to your breathing, start your summoning. I recommend mantras, credible, things like In nomine di nostri Satanae Luciferi Excelsi, or In nomine Spiritus Domini Mundi Est, and then name that spirit. Okay? This is Latin, pig Latin, to be honest. And what this is you are summoning that spirit. And you are welcoming that spirit into your inner sanctum. And whatever goes on from that point on is between you and that spirit. So why should you make a pact? To make a pact is a good thing. Number one, it shows you are dedicated to that system, committed to those spirits that you have aligned yourself with. Because these spirits can teach you a lot of things. I would recommend not going more than, say, anywhere between a half a dozen to a dozen. You want to keep it small. That way you can build up that current, that energy, that relationship with these spirits and actually gain favor with them. If you go too far and you go outside of that, you're risking that everything that you've ever done with that system. Okay? One of the ways to honor these spirits is through marking your skin. Okay? You look at all the ancient folklores, such as Druidic or Scandinavian. You look at the Vikings. Why did they always give themselves tattoos? Why is it they liked scars? Because it showed that they were warriors, that they were true followers of Odin, okay, and his house of Valhalla. You look into Greek mythology. The sword represents the warrior. Blood represents warriors. That's why when you get into the Colosseum, the gladiators, they always marked you with red paint. When you have a sword and you have banners, this resembles the god of war, like a ruby. Okay? Rubies and gems were always something to marvel at because they represented certain deities. Again, knowing who you're calling and what you're calling is always a good thing. But also, you want to remember how to protect yourself because there are some baneful spirits out there. So, offensive and defensive magic is very well to be known. One of the other things I want to discuss here is the fact that why it is so important to make a pact and don't make the, how should I say this, the mistake of underestimating the difference between initiation and a pact with a spirit. Okay? First of all, what do I mean by this? When you initiate yourself into a current, you have aligned yourself with that current. Okay? It does not mean that you are protected by that current. It just means that you have aligned yourself with that current. But it's not until you've made the pacts and built up those relationships and started gaining favor with spirits through your hard work, your self mastery, your self evolution, your commitment to what you are studying and practicing. That is how you gain favor through these demons, through the archdemons, working with beings like, say, Beelzebub, Astaroth, Asmodeus, Satanas, Luciferi. These are demonic lords. Azazel. These are beings that can teach you. They have great and mass armies and legions underneath their command, just like the kings of the Goetia. So they would be considered to be archdemons. So whatever system you're looking at, let's say for an example, you're going with the four archdemons, the four cardinal directions, or you're working with the 36 deacons of the destruction from the Munich manuscripts. You're working with the nine kings of the Goetia, the seven crown princes of sin, of the crown princes of the air from the 6 and 7 books of Moses. You're looking at the seven crown princes of sin through that of Abrahamic religions, spoken of by Michelle Belanger, okay, through her book. Either way, there are groups of spirits that sit above the rest. You want to work with those to gain favor because they can bestow you familiars. They can bestow upon you honors that most people don't get. Knowing this, knowing what they're capable of doing, again, is something that's good for you. But you have to align yourself with those that call you. You have to understand that there's a difference between all these beings. They are both all unique individuals, just like you and I. So it's always good to show respect. Always have your offering, the correct offering, ready, and never keep them waiting. Always a good thing. So if you're ready to make that pact, by all means, go out and do it. If not, hit the books. You'll be better off in the long run. Personally, I do not recommend doing any rituals for at least 6 months. When you get into a system, you want to learn, you want to understand, and you want to grow. Take notes, begin a journal. And when you get into doing rituals and summonings, keep a dream journal, keep a magical journal, keep a meditational journal. These are all separate journals. When you get into ceremonials and rituals, you want to have a specific journal just for that. These will benefit you in the long run. But again, that's up to you. There's an old saying. There's a couple old sayings that I want you to remember. Number one, a man who does not learn from history is doomed to repeat it. And second of all, you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make them drink. The same thing is with an apprentice. You can lead that apprentice to the sources. You can lead them to the material, but you cannot make them study it. You cannot make them do anything they are unwilling to do. That is why demons mostly look for the most devout, dedicated, and committed practitioners to work with, to help out, to commune with. Keep that in mind. Have a good night, ladies and gentlemen.